Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz, Fox News contributor Sarah Carter. Sarah, let's pick up on John's story. You have been following it as well. You too have sources confirming to you tonight, bucket 5, exculpatory information, transcripts, and likely tapes of Papadopoulos and Page basically saying, no, we would never do this. The Trump campaign never did this. And if asked to do it, we would consider that unpatriotic. They had that information, like they had the Orr warning and the State Department warning.
Well, apparently they did have that information, and they failed to turn that information over, Sean, to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. This is the most secretive court in the land. They are required by law to give all of the information and clearly have the evidence to support their FISA warrant. And according to the sources that I've spoken with, both over the last year and in recent weeks, they did not share that information with the courts. This is very seriously damaging. This affects everything, because when you think about this, Carter Page and neither George Papadopoulos or anyone else, and possibly now we're hearing Michael Flynn or Paul Manafort, can't go before the courts and defend themselves. And so when they can't do that, it's up to the FBI, it's up to the Bureau to ensure that it's given the court every bit of evidence possible in order to protect that person's Fourth Amendment rights. And it appears that they did not. And when that information comes out, that will be one of the most damning pieces of evidence against the FBI. Bucket. And that's one small little bucket.
All right. Professor, I love the fact that you're a civil libertarian. We actually share that. I agree with you, and we better pay attention here. Now, we do know, when you look at this report in particular tonight, and you listen to all the examples, we now have far more examples, 10 times the amount of exculpatory evidence. By the way, Andrew Weissman, licensed to lie, Sidney Powell, said he withheld exculpatory evidence. Why was he hired? Why was he on that team? But then you have Bruce Orr warning everybody. Then you have the State Department warning everybody. Then we had tapes like for Papadopoulos and Page. Was that a perjury trap? Because if they knew what he said because they spied on him, they'd set that kid up, and he said exculpatory things.
Well, no doubt that was a perjury trap. Whenever the government knows what you're going to say and then calls you in front of the grand jury to see if you say anything contradictory to that, that's the classic perjury trap. But you can fall into a perjury trap even if you're totally innocent, because if the government chooses to believe somebody else's truth, somebody who's a bought witness or a rented witness, and who testifies contradictorily to what you have said in front of under oath, that's a perjury trap. But I think more important, as what your previous guest said, this idea of a fraud on the FISA court is unique in that they only hear one side of the story from the government. They have to trust the government. And when the government doesn't provide them information, everybody's civil liberties, everybody's civil rights are in danger.
Let me ask you, Professor, we know that it was the FBI Director Comey, and Sarah's reported, well, this show's reported on it many times. He signed the first FISA application. I just gave you the history of all of the red flags that they purposely ignored. Right. So on top of a FISA warrant, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, it says verified. And that Comey put his signature in it. Then he went to Trump Tower just a few months later and said it was not verified, but salacious. And now Loretta Lynch has accused James Comey, super patriot that he is, Mr. Integrity that he is, of lying when he claimed she directed him to say it's a matter, not an investigation. Well, who's lying there?
Well, we have to get to the bottom of that. I mean, that's not just a matter of words. You're not supposed to be deceiving, obviously, the public any more than you're supposed to be deceiving the court. And I just think it's so important to understand that what could be done to the people who the FISA court issued a warrant against could be done to any American. That's why every civil libertarian should be concerned and focused on what happened here with the FISA court. The FISA court is a very unusual court, and it requires the trust of everybody who files an application. And there's a continuing obligation. Even if what you said was true at the time you signed the application, if you find out anything else that's inconsistent, you have an immediate obligation to inform the court. And if they didn't inform the court, they violated that obligation and that trust.
Last word, Sarah Carter.
Well, we're starting to see a lot of people throw each other under the bus, Sean, not just Loretta Lynch and James Comey, but John Brennan and James Comey. So I think the audience should definitely keep their eye on that, because a lot more information is going to be coming out.
All right. Thank you. Apparently.